Hi, my name is Andrea and I'm a naturalist and educator for Severson Dells Nature Center. In today's video, I'd like to teach you just a little bit about some of the amazing fish that call Northern Illinois home. In the rivers, streams, and lakes of Winnebago County, there's a wide variety of fish and each of them is beautiful and unique. Today, we're going to talk about 3 of my favorites. I hope you enjoy. The first fish I'd like to introduce you to is the brook stickleback. These are pretty small little fish. They're anywhere from 2 to 2.5 inches long when they're an adult. That's smaller than your finger. They like to live in cool, clear streams with lots of plants on the edge. So whether there's grassy banks or tree banks, these fish really prefer creeks like that. There's 2 unique features about this fish's appearance. They don't have any scales, which is really unique, and you'll notice that they have really strong dorsal spines. They like to eat insects, especially insect larvae, because they're smaller fish, so they can't prey on big things. If you're wondering about what eats them, one of their predators is actually the northern pike, which we'll talk about later. One thing that I think is really interesting about the brook stickleback is that males will build small rocky nests for the females to lay their eggs in. I think these little guys are so cute, and I hope you like them too. The next fish I'd like to introduce you to is the beautiful orange spotted sunfish. These are a little bit bigger than the brook stickleback. They can be anywhere from 2.5 to 5 inches, although usually they're on the smaller end of that spectrum, and they're never bigger than 5 inches. You'll notice they're exquisite and really unique markings. That's one of the reasons why I love these fish. They're pretty common in this area, and in fact, we think that their population is increasing. They like to live in silty, murky waters without much oxygen in them, and they can live in creeks, rivers, ponds, or lakes. Well, as humans have settled this area, we've taken away a lot of the vegetation along riverbanks and the sides of lakes. And so that causes more and more erosion of the sides of those bodies of water, and it brings soil and dirt and other things into the water, creating lower quality habitat. But because our orange-spotted sunfishes can thrive in those environments, they're actually adapting well to the negative and bad ways humans are changing their environments. We've found these orange-spotted sunfish almost everywhere in the county, especially in the Pecatonica, Kishwaukee, and Sugar rivers. Orange-spotted sunfish can live anywhere from 4 to 7 years on average. I hope you love these beautiful fish as much as I do. The last fish I'm going to introduce you to in this video is a giant. The northern pike can get up to 20 inches long, and they can get pretty heavy too. In fact, a northern pike was caught in Pierce Lake, which is at Rock Cut, and it weighed 23 pounds. Someone also caught a 20-pound northern pike in the lakes at Four Lakes Forest Preserve. That's so big. These fish like to live in a very unique environment. They like to live in sloughs, oxbow lakes, and floodplain areas. So essentially, slower moving sections of a river. As humans have settled this area, we've taken away a lot of those habitat opportunities. We've straightened the course of rivers, prevented flooding, and established agricultural fields or crop fields where these fish used to live. For that reason, their numbers are decreasing. However, you can still find this fish in Killbuck, Otter, and Raccoon Creeks, along with the Kishwaukee, Pecatonica, and Sugar rivers nearby. These big fish are pretty aggressive predators. They'll eat other fish along with reptiles, sometimes even birds and mammals. They can live up to 10 to 15 years too. However, they don't like being warm. In fact, they'll choose to stay in the shadows of creeks and rivers, so they'll be on the edge by the banks or hiding under the shadows of trees and grasses. The northern pike is huge and so important, and hopefully more people will learn about this fish and help us protect it. I hope you enjoyed this brief introduction to just a handful of the fish that are found in Winnebago County. There's so many more. Big ones, small ones, colorful ones, camouflaged ones. And I hope you take some time to learn a little bit more about the aquatic residents of this wonderful area we call home. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.
Fish have really amazing anatomy and adaptations that allow them to survive really well in water, one of which is all of their fins. They have multiple sets of fins that help them steer and stay straight and balanced in the water. So we're going to go through a few of those fins and a couple of other external adaptations before we head inside. So the first set of fins that we have on our catfish here are their pectoral fins. So if you think about on the human body, there is the pectoral muscles in your chest. So these are their pectoral fins. And those fins help with steering. So it helps them be able to navigate in the water. Then they've got their dorsal fin. And this one actually has two dorsal fins that help them go straight in the water. So if you think about throwing a football and how it spirals, if they didn't have these fins to help them stay straight, they would actually spiral through the water. And then underneath, you've got these pelvic fins, and that also helps them stay balanced. And in some fish, it actually helps them do a little bit of steering as well. And if you, again, pelvic, we think of our pelvic bones, it's in that same general area on a fish. And then the final fin is this one back here, and this is called the caudal fin, or the tail. And that is the motor. That's where fish are getting most of their power from to be able to move forward. The other thing you'll notice, and on some fish it's more pronounced than others, this is a catfish, so they're not known for their schooling abilities, so they don't necessarily have this adaptation as strong as other fish. But there is this line that runs down the center of their body that's called a lateral line. And that helps them be able to sense pressure differences or movement in the water. This is really pronounced in schooling fish. So like sardines and mackerel in the ocean have very pronounced lateral lines. And they're little fluid line sacs along the side of the body. And that, if you've ever seen a video of a schooling fish or been scuba diving or snorkeling and seen schooling fish and wondered how they turn so fast, it's because of that lateral line and them being able to sense those pressure differences really quickly and being able to make those sharp turns all at once. The next external adaptation we'll get into in a little bit is gills. And gills is what fish use to breathe. So under there, we'll get into that in a little bit. This is their gill flap. And funny enough, humans, when they're in uterus, actually have these, and this would be behind our ears before it seals up while we're in the uterus before we're born live. So we have that same thing too at one point in our development. Then we've got the eyes, obviously, to help them see, and we'll get a chance to take a look further at those. And then catfish have these funny little whiskers that actually help them with navigating, with being able to find food along the bottoms. So with that, that's kind of the external part. Lastly is this little thing right here. This is the cloaca, or the anus right here. And that's where the excrement comes out. And that kind of sums up our external anatomy. And we're going to take a quick break so we can take a next segment and get started on the inside. All right, so we've now cut into our fish so we can take a look at some of its internal anatomy. I just removed this fleshy part, which for people that like to eat fish, this is the muscle that you'll use for a fillet. And fish actually have pretty similar intestines to us, or internal organs. And you've got their stomach, which we'll cut open in a minute and see if we can figure out what they've eaten. That's actually the liver. The heart is even behind that. And the heart, you'll notice, is really close to the gills, similar to humans, where our heart is really close to our lung, so that oxygen transfer can happen happen relatively quickly or relatively closely and easily. Then you've got your intestines, and you've got more intestines. So just like in us, we've got long intestines, so do fish to help with that digestive process. And you can see this guy's actually got some still in there. Fish also have something in that runs right along their spine called their air bladder or swim bladder. And it's a balloon that they can use to raise or lower themselves in the water column. So if they want to be up towards the top, they'll put more air in there and it helps them float. And if they want to go down towards the bottom, they'll release air out of that air bladder and they sink towards the bottom. And we have a male fish here because this sac right here is their big sac of sperm. So this guy was ready to fertilize the eggs and had the ability to do so. And you can see all of these different intestines in there. They move around. Oh, there's quite a bit in there, again, just like in the human body. I'm going to cut up a little bit higher so that we can try and find the heart. And one thing I did want to note is about dissection. Dissection is one of those things we do to learn about animals, and we want to make sure that we're being respectful when we're doing it, because we obviously don't want to be wasteful. So we do want to make sure we're using this as a learning experience and in that way. So up here is that big liver. I'm actually going to take that liver out so I can try and find the heart behind it. And you'll notice the color of that is really dark red and thick with blood. And fish hearts are actually really small compared to the rest of their organs, which I guess isn't all that dissimilar to us. We're kind of the same way. All right, so that heart is located right in under here. It's kind of hard to see from this vantage point, but it is in there, I promise. But you'll notice just how close it is to the gills. So we're gonna open up these gills and you'll get a chance to see what that looks like. And catfish, their gill covering is really thick. It's really cartilaginous, so I'm actually gonna leave it in there and just cut the gills out so you can see what they look like. Thanks for being patient with me while I do this. Because there is a cartilaginous piece that's on the inside of the gills that's really tough to cut. And it attaches the gills to something called gill rakers, which protect the fish from having pieces of debris going in their gills and in their mouth. So this is just a small section. So on this side, you've got the stiffer gill rakers. And again, that's what's hoping they're hoping it will catch the debris and protect it from going onto the gills. And you notice the gills are pretty light in color. That's where the low oxygen blood is going to be to get oxygenated and head back to the heart. So it tends to be lighter in color. And they've got a whole series of these. I'm going to try and open this up so you can see, but there's usually a stack of 3 or 4, depending on the fish. You might get 5 or 6 layers of gills in there that help them breathe. All right. And fish do have brains, but they're not very big, but their skull cavity is really, really thick compared to the rest of their bone structure. So we don't have quite the tools today to get in there, but it is relatively small and usually located right in the middle of the head. And last but not least is their eyes. And fish eyes can be really, really interesting because they have lenses in them that help them see. And depending on the species of fish and the habitats they live in, sometimes the lenses in their eyes will be two different sizes. So you'll get one eye that will have a really small lens and one eye will have a really big lens. And the thought behind that is that they need one to see up close and they use the other to see distance. And you can see this guy's holding on, the optic nerve is holding on. So we've got that same optic nerve that connects our eye to our brain. And I'm trying to get this lens out and it's being a little finicky. All right, and there is one of our lenses. So you'll notice it's not very big compared to the rest of the eye. We'll look at the other one and see if the other one is bigger or smaller or the same size. I've seen all kinds of different setups in different fish species, so I'm always continually surprised by what you find. And inside the eyeball, along with the lens, is this kind of jelly, and that's in there to protect the lens. But it also helps with magnification as well. All right, and this lens, ooh, much easier and a lot bigger. So you can see the size difference there. I'll put it down on the tray and you can see, so this is one eye and this is the other eye. So fish, again, use those different size lenses to help them see distance and see up close. That's all I have for our fish right here, but I hope you have a better understanding of how they work inside and out and some of their adaptations that help them be successful in nature. Thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully you get out and explore some streams and get a chance to see some of those fish fins in action. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.